And we're live. Hey, Tammy, I'm going to do a practice right here and see if I can get the flag to come up.
Okay.
Let's see.
We are streaming, Kevin, just so you know.
Thank you. Okay, I do not see my share screen. Oh, I see why. It's down here.
There, I saw it. You just said I just saw your screen a second ago.
Yeah, I forgot to put the flag up, so now I'm going to try it one more time. I think I got it this time. I am almost sure that I have it. Okay, so let me try this one more time. Just trying to remember how I did it before.
It's here, Kevin.
Okay, thank you. I will take this down and wait. Okay.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Okay, I'm just looking to see who we have. It's a little different. Virtual. Alicia. Brandon is unable to make it this evening. And I have not heard from Abby.
There she is.
Hi, Abby.
Hi. Just flew in from downtown. Sorry.
That's all right.
Right on time.
So I think the other one is just Craig, Dawn.
Okay, I'll go ahead and call this meeting to order and start with a Pledge of Allegiance.
I will put the flag up.
Committee of the Whole meeting Monday, November 9th.
Is the flag showing?
I have to keep switching screens.
It is
Not
not.
yet.
It's not?
No.
Oh, sorry about that. Let me check one more time. Oh, I forgot to hit the button that says share. That would be the reason.
It is now.
Okay, sorry about that.
All right. Well, thank you for your time. This was easier than the drive that I would have had from Allen Park to here to do the last presentation that I had. So, but I do thank you for your time. Tonight, I just plan on kind of going over things, what the results of the audit were, but also give you just a little bit of background to what happened this year, and some major things that have affected the audit. I do want to thank Angina and the entire district for working with us this year. This was probably the most unique year I've had in terms of actually performing the audits. The audit here, like all of our districts, was performed completely on a remote basis. We didn't set foot at the district this year, and it was a decision that we had made as a firm in order to keep our employees safe, but also to keep your employees safe. Felt like it was the best call at the time, and it continues to be something that we're evaluating. And I really hope that next year when we're doing this audit and this presentation that we're not having to do the same thing. But saying all that, I will say, and do want to thank Angina, because it did go as smoothly as what you could expect with everything. I'm sure there were some pain points on her side with having to scan everything and getting everything to us in that way, and we really appreciate that. But overall, we were still able to issue the report and have everything performed in a timely manner, and we're able to still give you the opinion in the reports that you're looking for. So in terms of the report itself, we did issue an unmodified opinion. If you have the financial statements, you could look at that. The first page of our report on the financial statements, page 1, is actually our independent auditor's report. This is really what you're looking for, a clean opinion or an unmodified opinion on the financial statements. It basically means that the financial statements are fairly presented in all material respects. So it's not absolute assurance. We're not giving you down to the penny, but we are giving you that reasonable assurance that so that you can rely on the information to make decisions. In the report, you will see on page 2 the implementation of GASB statement number 84, paragraph related to that. Anytime there's implementation of a new standard that requires prior period adjustment, we have to disclose this as well as any prior period adjustment. This isn't an issue. This isn't a problem. It's just what happens when you implement a standard. I will say, Angina didn't have to do that this year in terms of there was a change in accounting standards in the middle of the pandemic that allowed districts, if they had wanted to, could decide. And I haven't counted exactly, but probably half of my district decided to move forward and go ahead and implement. About half of them decided, you know what, I've got enough on my plate. I'm going to wait till next year. So the next section of the report, as you go through things, that starts on page 6, is the management's discussion and analysis. This is usually an area that we gloss over. A lot of people, a lot of business managers, a lot of auditors feel like, what is the point of this report? It's not technically audited. It gives some narrative information, but it's very, very high level. This year, I feel like there's some good information there, especially considering where we're at, where management had the opportunity to explain some things that you wouldn't normally be able to get into a report if you didn't have MD&A. So, for instance, in the budgetary highlight section on page 9, there's an opportunity there to kind of explain what happened to the budget, because despite everybody's great ability to guess what the state of Michigan was going to do, nobody got it right. I'm yet to find a district that said, you know what, they're going to cut revenue by $175 per pupil. more than a month after the fiscal year ended. So there's that opportunity to explain that in this report as well. In addition, there's a section on factors bearing on the district's future on the next page that talks about the budget. But again, that budget was adopted when you didn't know what was going to happen for the fiscal year even more than normal. So there's an opportunity to discuss some of that uncertainty that's there. I would also point out it points it out here. There's also an added footnote this year that just talks about the fact that there is a lot of uncertainty still out there related to revenues, related to how education is going to be provided. And so that's significant enough that we felt that there should be a footnote included, which again, if you look at financial reports, it's not just those audited by Raymond. I think you'd see that across the state that was included because it is very unique and there is an impact on the financial results. The financial statements themselves, the meat of the statement starts on page 12. That's your government-wide financial statements. Biggest thing to highlight here is, there is a deficit in your net position on a government-wide basis. But as we've talked about in previous years, that's caused by that unfunded liability for MIPSers, which is your pension and your OPEB liabilities. That for you, it's about 51 million in total for those two items. It's not a liability you can pay off. You're going to be feeling the effects of it though for years as that unfunded liability works into the rates that you're paying and the higher rates that you're paying for the MIPSers plan for that unfunded liability. The next section, starting on page 14, is your fund financial statements. And this is what you look at on a day-to-day basis on what you're used to seeing. It has your major funds, which includes your general fund and your debt service fund. And then the non-majors are in a single column, and there's combining schedules in the back for those. You'll see on page 14, your total fund balance was 5.6 million. Of that, there were some amounts assigned, and then your unassigned fund balance was about 4.4 million. Page 16 is your income statement for all of those funds. You'll see in the middle column, the debt service fund column on page 16. There's some fun accounting that's going on there for your debt refunding, where you were refunded the school loan revolving funds. The budget to actual, though, or the statement that I would point you to for the general fund would be on page 18. This gives you the budget to actual presentation for that fund. And if you go towards the bottom of page 19, there's the net change in fund balance. You can see your original budget had a reduction of 350,000. Your final budget amendment had a reduction of 562,000, and your actual results were better than that, 861. So I see it all across the board as I'm doing these presentations. I have to double check every time because you have some districts that, held the line and didn't budget any kind of reduction. You had some where you had a big reduction, said that we're going to have based on the numbers, the preliminary numbers we were seeing, we were hearing these numbers of very large cuts. And then some went in between. Nobody got 175, but you can see for you, that was a very positive when you look at the fund balance. That 175 reduction wasn't near as much as what you had included in that final budget at your end. So that shows in that actual column, the 861,000 increase from the 4.7 million that brought the total balance to 5.6 million at the end of the year. The next section is the notes to the statements. Not a whole lot new in the statements this year. If you go to the very end, page 45 and 46 are the new notes. Page 45 has a restatement footnote related to putting those new funds in place as special revenue funds that used to be in fiduciary funds, your student activities funds, and your scholarship funds. And then there's that coronavirus footnote that I included, that I talked about on page 46. And then if you want to see where the funds now are shown, if you go to page 56 of the report, that's where you can find the Student Service Activity Fund and the Student Scholarship Funds presented, where before they were in separate statements. We also issued a separate report on the single audit. And a good place to go to see our overall results is on page, actually I'm going to take you to the schedule of expenditures of federal awards. Page 4 and 5 of that schedule, if you were looking at the report. The thing I want to point out there is this year there was the only COVID related funding that you have, and the federal government is requiring any COVID related money to be denoted by COVID-19. So something you can look for in a report is the funding related to the unanticipated school closure program that districts participated in for food service. So there was money included there this year, but that's the only COVID related dollars. Everything else is going to be audited with your 2021 audit, and will be included on the CFA there, will be included in revenues next year, and you'll see the impact on 2021. The actual results of our audit are summarized on page 13 of that. That's the schedule of findings and question costs, the summary of auditors' results. And you will see there, in terms of internal controls over financial reporting, we didn't have material weaknesses or significant deficiencies on the financial statements part of our audit. On the federal award side, we didn't have material weaknesses or significant deficiencies either. We tested a child nutrition cluster, and we did have one finding. And that finding relates to that COVID-19 unanticipated school closure funding that we were talking about before. At least partially was because of that. And I found this, that a lot of districts, that the funding that was received was more funding than what you were used to seeing, and could push those fund balance of that food service fund up above the allowable limits. We did verify there were so many different waivers that were granted in different programs this year. We did double check with MDE to make sure there wasn't a waiver out there for this program and for this requirement, and there was none. So it's basically just one of those things where, because it's in excess, now you have to go through and you have to have a spending plan for that to make sure that fund balance drops down below the allowable limits. So again, we didn't even call it a significant deficiency. Sometimes on these things we would call it that, but there's really not much of a control that you can put in place to anticipate this type of change, and this additional revenue would come in. So, but it is something that we have to note, and you should be aware of. So,
Nate, I'll just interject in there too. One thing, we did know that we were kind of running into that, but at that point, there really wasn't opportunity to even order from companies to get it into companies. Nobody was in the building. I mean, so there was a lot of factors based on as far as not being able to get that spent down. But for sure, the majority part of that was the increased revenue we received for feeding any children under the age of 18 during that time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really, there is a separate letter that you received. There's not much to note there. It's kind of our standard communication with those charged with governance, just details everything, a lot of what I've already talked about more informally in here. There was one comment related to how budgets are adopted. So just a slight plan that we've talked to Angina about that we'll make sure that you can make sure it gets changed next year. But other than that, really didn't have anything. Overall, a very clean audit, no findings of note that you could have done much about. And so overall, pleased with the results and happy to answer any questions you might have.
I don't have any questions, except that, does this require an action item, or it's just for presentation?
This is, I
I
think,
believe it's just, for presentation.
Yes.
Okay, I can never remember if the board has to take action on this one or not. Thank you. Thank you, Nate.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Nate. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nate, and thank you, Angina and Mr. Simmons. You guys do a great job. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks, Angina. Great job with that piece. So are we now moving to our 3.02 with the desk proposal? Is that where we are now?
Are you asking me?
I had to
Yeah.
unmute. Yes, that's
Okay.
where we're at.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Don. Just making sure. I was like, so, Angina, again, as much we appreciate you taking care of that budget piece through the audit. You do such a great job with that, you and your team. Let's move into the desk proposal, and I'll start by sharing the first piece with the desk proposal. Is that just like uniforms with athletes that get rotated through after so many years of usage, we were looking at our desks for that purpose and for the purpose of our kids who are sitting at the same small table, and taking away the table and creating a small desk for our small kids, for our elementary students, and being able to create another foot or two separation. And after, let's say we get to post-COVID and someday to where the opportunity of no mask and back to all vaccinations have taken place, those same desks can still be used because they can slide together and they create a table for student-to-student academic engagement. So, Angina, if you would kind of go over these proposals we received and where and how you got them for us.
Okay. So, as Kevin stated, so we're looking at the K-5 classrooms, and what we did was Dewey and his crew and Kevin did some walkthroughs to kind of take a look to see a couple things. A, what shape our desks were in, and how many desks did we need to remove the tables, as Kevin just had mentioned about for social distancing, and it gives each individual student kind of their own space. And after that, that's how we came up to the quantities for each of these buildings. And then also, I asked the principals who had put a survey out to their staff, because when you look at these quotes, there's two different styles of desks. One has the opening in the front where the lid doesn't lift open and you can just put stuff in, take stuff out. So one of the buildings, Purdy, actually that principal in building actually liked that style of desks, to where the other two buildings like the one where the top actually lifts open and then they can put stuff in the book box and then close it down. So we since we were doing this and everybody, we let them, you know, kind of have the choice of that to see what was out there and what was best for that. So I worked with School Specialty and another company to get some quotes. School Specialty, their price quote was the cheapest by individual desks and also for the shipping and delivery of these items. So that's what is attached in this quote. And because it's over the bid threshold, that's why it needs to come to the board for approval. We did not do a formal RFP because we'll be purchasing these through the REMC consortium. So when we go through a consortium like that, it takes away that they've already done the bidding for us, and that's kind of the part of being a part of that consortium. It's less on the district as far as the paperwork and that type of stuff. But we did go out and get another quote for these same types of desks, style of desks, I guess I would say. So we're just looking to ask this for board approval so that we can go ahead and order them and get them into the buildings as soon as we can.
I make a motion that we approve the purchase of these desks.
Point of order.
We wouldn't do that until the next meeting, Abby.
All
Right.
right, thank you. Thank
Sorry.
you.
Any discussion on the desk? I had talked with Kevin earlier, and the only thing that I thought might be something to think about is having all the same desk in all three buildings. Then when we move them around, it'll just be the same desk. Like if one classroom didn't need 25, but another classroom needed 30 or whatever the numbers are, it would still always be the same desk in the elementaries.
And I'm sorry, Angina. Go ahead, Angina, ladies first.
I was just going to say, John, we looked at that too with the two different things. In the box of the desk are the same color and the tops will be the same color. And the heights are adjustable, which, you know, depending on what grade of the kids. So we were thinking along those same lines that they would match as far as if we did have to move them or whatever. But that was, I just wanted to let you know that we did look into that as far as with the colors and availability of the two different styles.
Now, with that being said, there is a substantial amount of cost difference in those desks. Was there a desk that maybe in between that could meet all the needs?
The price difference actually comes with the lid lifting and the lid not lifting. So we even talked in cabinet about that, and with some of the people, I think Kevin too, Trevor being a principal in one of the buildings and stuff like that. And they were surprised actually that Purdy wanted that style, because most of the teachers want that lift up, because when it's not the lift, it's hanging out. You know, when it's the front load, a lot of stuff that's hanging out of the desk and stuff like that. So we were surprised they didn't want that kind. I think what makes the other one more is just the whole mechanics that the desk lifts up. There's hinges, you know, all that kind of stuff. So that's why those cost more.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So we will have this in the consent items as we go to next Monday's meeting on November the 16th. As we go to our next presentation and discussion item, which is 3.03, December meetings. So we can't just change a meeting, but the board can have this discussion, and then next week could have a vote. There's two meetings scheduled, the second and the third Monday. The second Monday is December the 14th. The third Monday is December the 21st. So we wanted to make sure that we didn't catch board members off guard that is the week, first week of vacation, where a number of families and board members are taking a trip or leaving town with their families for the winter break. So the question that is on the table is, do we want to leave the 14th as a committee as a whole and the 21st as a regular board meeting? Or do we want to hold one meeting in December and it be on December the 14th as a regular board meeting? So that's the question that I want to ask the members tonight.
While we're thinking about this, I want to remind that We are also talking about holding a meeting with the potential new board members on December 7th, so that, I mean, that is not a board meeting, it's more like a workshop. But I'm fine with doing the one regular meeting on the 14th. Any other thoughts, anyone?
I'm at the pleasure of the administration. If you have business you need us to take care of, or if you don't, then one meeting is fine with me.
One meeting would be very appreciative.
Yeah,
We
that's
could get,
fine with me too.
Sounds great to me.
That sounds good. One meeting is good.
I'm okay with the 14th.
Thank you, everyone.
thanks everyone. And so there will be, right now we only have one discussion and agenda item that will show up on December the 14th. And that will be a request for approval on the bond 2021. And that will be a discussion at that time. But right now, that's the only thing that we have on the agenda for, oh, I'm sorry. Nope, we also have a budget revision as we did last December. And Gina, I see Angina was just getting ready to remind me. That's also, so there's two things that's on the agenda so far for the 14th, which would be plenty of time for us to get into that detail. Thank you for the December meeting change, and we will have to vote on it on the, the board would have to approve that change for the calendar on the 16th so that we can then post it as the change on the schedule. Okay. So one additional item left for tonight is 3.04. It's the superintendent's evaluation, and I would ask that the discussion occurs in closed session, and that
Point of information.
yes, Dr.
How are you planning to tell the public when you can start over? How are you planning to tell the public when they can come back to open session to complete the agenda?
Yes, we're going to share with the board, with the public, that we'll be coming back to the same site, and hopefully that would be within the next hour and 15 minutes.
Okay, but how are you planning to make sure that they know when we're in open session?
They would
Yeah,
have,
I could post that on Facebook when we're coming back into open session.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. And just so everyone knows, I have a link that I sent to your school email to go to for the closed session for the board members. So check your school email and the link is there.
Thank you, Jackie. Can
Mm-hmm.
we get a motion to go into closed session for the Superintendent Simmons evaluation?
I will make that motion.
Can I get a second?
I second that.
Thank you.
there needs to be a roll call, right, Don?
Yes, we can do a roll call vote on that. Abby, please.
Yep. Okay. Dawn,
Yes.
Alicia,
Yes.
Craig,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Dottie,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Motion's passed.
Thank you. I'll see you all in closed session.
Thank you.
Can someone tell me why Angina is still on?
Dottie, you should be, there's another link in your email, Dottie, for the closed session. So leave this one, Dottie, and join the other link.
What am I supposed to be doing?
So leave this meeting and go to your email. There's another link for the closed session.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Scott, did you get the link as well? Scott, are you still in this meeting?
Okay, Dawn is trying to find us. Hold on just a second. Here she is.
I found my way in.
Did you get lost?
Yes, I did. Very lost. Sorry about that, everyone. Is everyone else in?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And Jay's going to facilitate finishing up this superintendent evaluation.
And Jay's not in here yet.
Don?
Yes.
Is Craig in the meeting?
Yes, he is.
Okay, thanks.
Jay does have the link.
See, we're waiting on Jay.
Did I leave that other one too early, or do we go back into open session at this one?
They did the vote to come in open session in the other one.
After I exited, huh? I wondered
Yes,
about
ma'am.
that.
Yes,
Sorry.
ma'am.
Yes, we missed you, Abby.
Yeah, I was apparently in a hurry. Sorry.
Huh. Let me take a look and see if Jay and Bob, see if they're still over in the other one. Nope. They left the other one. I don't get it. He said, email me the meeting. I'm in the waiting room. And I don't have a waiting room. Jackie was just saying this earlier about I have rights to do this stuff and I don't see it.
Well, there's no rights for a waiting room because there's not a waiting room. So if you tell him to check his email, I've sent it to him again.
Okay. Okay. Well, he said nothing yet.
Jay is on now.
Oh, there he is.
Ain't technology great?
Oh, sometimes. Sometimes.
All right, just 1 second. Okay. Now that we're all back together, let's do this. All right, so as I said, we will go through each of these one by one. We will come to consensus on the final determination, and I will make note of these as we go. Starting with the area of A1, policy involvement. I believe that the board came to a consensus of a 3.5. In the area of A2, I believe the board came to a consensus of a 3. In the area of A3, information, board came to a consensus on a 4. A4, materials and background, board came to a consensus on a 4. A5, board questions, board came to a consensus on a 4. And A6, board development, board came to a consensus on a 3.5.
Jay,
Yes,
on
Ed.
A1, I just had a question on A1.
Yes.
Was that 3.5? I'm not sure I heard that many people that didn't want a 4. So I was just wondering how you do that now. If you're, like, if I'm questioning that consensus, or do you want to go
Yes.
back and?
Nope, that's
How do you-
absolutely fine. So
That's what
you
we're supposed to be doing, right?
Yep. Nope, you're absolutely right. So you believe that we were closer to a 4 than a 3.5 on that one. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Can I get some confirmation from some other board members that we're at a 4 on that one?
I believe that's
Okay. All right. So that puts us
Sorry
at
about that.
No, that's perfectly fine. That's what we're here for. All right, so that puts us at a category rating of 3.75 for A, governance and board relations. Okay. Moving on to community relations, area B. For B1, parent feedback, 3. For communication with community, B2, 4. B3, community feedback, 4. B4, media relations, 4. B5, district image, 4. And B6, approachability, 4. That brings us to a category rating for the area B1 through B6 of a 3.83. 3.33. Okay. Moving on to staff relations. This is area C. For the area of staff feedback, 3.5. For the area of staff communications, a 4. For the area of personnel matters, a 4. For the area of delegation of duties, a 4. For the area of recruitment, a 4. And for the area of labor relations, a 4. That gives us, I'm sorry, one more, C7. See, I almost get to 2, Kevin.
Yep.
C7, visibility in district, I have a 4. So that leaves us with a category rating for C1 through C7 of a 3.92.
I did have a question about that last one, visibility in district.
Sure. You know what?
I had a
You're right.
3
I
down.
see my notes.
So
I see my notes here. Do you think that a consensus on this one would be a 3.5? There was some discussion around this specifically related to, and this is would be part of my recommendations on areas in which we could look towards some improvement. And so this is around classroom visitation, specifically towards classroom visitation into the virtual classrooms. So do we believe that an area, that a consensus on 3.5 would be appropriate for this?
I'm
Yes.
okay with that.
Okay. All right. So that leaves us with a overall score category rating for C1 through C7 at a 3.85. Okay. Moving into D, business and finance. Budget development, D1, budget development and management. 4. Budget reports. 4. D3, financial controls. 4. D4, facility management. 4. D5, resource allocation. 4. That leaves us with a category rating in D1 through D5 as a 4. All right. And moving to our last category, instructional leadership. E1, performance evaluation system, a 3. E2, building level leadership, a 4. E3, staff development, a 4. School improvement, E4, a 4. Curriculum, E5, a 3. Instruction, E6, a 3.5. Student feedback, E7, a 3. Student attendance, E8, a 3. E9, support for students, a 4. And E10, professional knowledge, a 4. That brings us to a category rating for E1 through E10 at a 3.55. We go to part F, determining professional practice rating. We come up with a total score of 3.76, which adjusted score is a 94%. In the area of student growth, keeping in mind that we do not have any state assessment from the 2018-2019 school year, we are then using the most recent data that we have available to us, which goes back to our rating for the evaluation last year. So we're going to maintain that as a student growth rating of a 3. Progress towards district-wide goals, we're going to mark that as a 4. Moving on to compiling the summative evaluation score. For professional practice, we have an overall weighted score of 1.85. For the student growth, we have an overall weighted score of 1.2. Progress towards district-wide growth, 0.4. A final score of 3.45, which puts us in an 86.25, which puts us squarely in the middle of the effective range. Questions about the final ratings? Okay, so I have some notes here that I will share with you in my summation when I send that off to you sometime later this week. I will also send you a copy of the spreadsheet that I have so that you can compare it to the notes that Jackie was taking. It is up to you as to whether you want to formally adopt this tonight or if you want to take a look at what I have, take a look at what Jackie has, make sure that all the numbers match up, and then formally adopt it at your next meeting or whenever you get together next. So that is up to you as what you want to do as a board.
Yes, we'll be adopting that at the regular board meeting.
Okay. So I will put together my notes and I will send those with the spreadsheet. I will try to get those to Jackie tomorrow. If not tomorrow, then Wednesday. Any questions for me yet tonight?
That help was really helpful. Thank you, Jay.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Jay.
You're very welcome, Abby, Dottie.
I have
See you in January, Jay.
Sounds like a plan. If you don't have anything else for me tonight, then I bid you adieu and good luck with the rest of the school year, or at least until January. And then we'll get together and figure out some goals for next year. If you think of anything between now and then, please feel free to reach out. And like I said, I'll try to get that information to Jackie sometime tomorrow or Wednesday.
Thank you very much, Jay.
Thank
Sure
you.
thing. Yep. Have a good night.
You
You
too.
too.
Okay, we will now go to 4.01, comments from the public.
And there are still none.
Thank you, Tammy. 5.01, comments from the superintendent.
I I want to say thank you to the school board for your support in this. We continue to work together. That I look forward to improving on these areas, and at the same time that we will make our way moving forward to have some great things occur here in our district. I also share with you, I have an email I'm going to send out to you. I would like for you to take a look at it when you get an opportunity, if not tonight, since so late, tomorrow. And there is a note that I will make that our work in the district is not complete. We still have some things we need to work on. And right now we have some serious things we need to work on when it comes to our high school. I've had this conversation with Mr. Faber. There are teachers that were, should I say, not identified, but given the information that there's a major concern as to what our academic achievement is looking like at the high school at this time. So we are working with a sense of urgency, getting ready to make some major changes. But this email that I'm going to send to you is going to help with how major these changes are going to be as we get ready to move forward. This email that I'm sending to you is personal. So it is more about where I would want to work on a commitment with the district as much as it is with what it is we need to do moving forward. So I do appreciate each one of you. And I know we have had our bumps and bruises that we've had to go through over these last 17 months. But I'm looking forward to moving forward in the days and years to come. So with that being said, President Forden, my other comments are noted in writing, so for the board and for the community, along with the Troon Law notes, excuse me.
Yes, thank you, Kevin. Moving to 6.01, comments from the board.
Can I go first?
Sure.
So Kevin, I just want you to know how much I really appreciate you being here. I think we're lucky that we selected you as our superintendent, and this is a terribly tough challenge through this time, and I appreciate your even-handedness, your ability to balance when we don't all agree. Sorry we make it so tough on you sometimes. But the only other thing I just wanted to mention, I got that phone call from Epic, that is the survey people. So they called twice before I watched your video and realized that was who that was. But today when I answered it, there was nobody on the other end. They didn't, it felt like a robocall. And the first two times they didn't leave a message. If they'd have left a message the first time, I would have known who it was. So is it people calling or is it a robot?
Yes, people.
Okay, well, there's something not quite right there. But if they could leave a voicemail message when they call, at least whoever is on the other end would know it was a real person. Unless there's some other thing out there called Epic that's calling people.
Nope.
That is a robocall. I don't know. Has anybody else gotten that call yet?
I haven't.
I have received it, and it came in as Lansing for me. It did not come in as Epic MRA, but I received that phone call, and it was a person.
Maybe just something happened with my call, but I did answer it like on the second ring that time. So.
Okay. I will check with John.
Anyone else for board comments?
Well, Kevin, things can only get better.
Yes. Understood. Understood. I think I forgot to say thank you, Abby, when I was doing all that talking about MRA. And thanks, Craig.
Okay, Kevin, I would also just like to thank you for all your hard work. And I know you're new. I'm new on the board as a president, and this pandemic is definitely something new that none of us have dealt with. And I appreciate everyone's hard work and your leadership in this. And with that being said, I like a motion to adjourn.
I motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
And everyone have a nice week.
All right, you got to do a roll call, right?
Oh, yes. I always forget the roll call.
Every time you forget.
And do we have to on adjourning also?
That's funny.
I think so.
Okay, Scott,
Here. Yeah.
Dawn,
Yes.
Alicia,
Yes.
Craig,
Aye.
and I'm a yes, and Dottie left the meeting. So we have a
Yes, she
majority.
said she lost power.
Okay,
Okay,
Thanks, everyone.
thank you.
bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.